Hey guys, I hope everybody's doing okay. I hope you're staying safe during this quarantine and these crazy times that we have right now. I miss you guys so much. I wish that we were in class so I could see your faces every day, but we're not. But we're gonna keep on keeping on. And today we're gonna be going over Module 8, Lesson 1. So these 10 problems are on ALEKS. That's where you'll find these that I'm working. So let's go ahead and get started. The first one, we have 4 cubed times 4 to the 6th. So what we need to do is we are trying to rewrite, using a single exponent. So the way we want to do this, we have 4 cubed, and I'm going to write this in a different color so you can see what I'm doing. So we have 4 cubed times 4 raised to the 6th power. And when you do this, you're going to bring this 4 down. And even though it's multiplied, you're going to take those exponents and you're going to add them. So we have 4 raised to 3 plus 6. Okay, and that's going to give us 4 raised to the 9th power. So I'm going to put this in here in ALEKS. So 4 raised to the 9th power. And I'm going to check it. All right, and that one's correct. So I'm going to move on to number 2. Which I already have written up here. Number 2 is w squared times w4. So I'm going to do the same thing here so you guys can see what I'm doing. Times w. And anything that's just w, that's raised to the 1st power. Okay, so that's one of those things you're just supposed to know. You're just supposed to remember, so don't forget that. And then that's going to be times w raised to the 4th power. And I made a mistake over here. You don't want to do that. That's supposed to be squared. So I'm going to catch those mistakes and go back and fix them so I don't get the answer wrong. So I'm going to bring down this w. And I'm going to do 2 plus 1 plus 4. And that is going to give me w. 2 plus 1 is 3 plus 4 is 7. So that's going to be my answer. So I'm going to put it in here. Check it. Okay, that's right. So we're going to move on to number 3, which I already have written up here. So we have u to the 5th power times u to the 2nd power times u. Remember, that's to the 1st power. So I'm going to write it again like this so you can see exactly what I'm doing. All right, and remember, just like over here, it's raised to the 1st power. I'm going to bring that down, and this is being multiplied, so I'm going to add them together. So 5 plus 2 plus 1. 5 plus 2 is 7, plus 1 is 8. So it's going to be u to the 8th power. I'm going to go over here. U to the 8th power. Check it. We're going to go to number 4. 8u times 3x raised to the 4th power times 2xu raised to the 9th power x raised to the 8th power. So I'm going to write each one of these in a different color so I kind of can separate and see what's going on. So 8u times 3x raised to the 4th power. Okay, and the reason I put the x and the 4 and both of them in black is because they go together, and later on I'm going to need to keep that in mind that they go together. So then I'm going to multiply this one, 2u9 x 8. Okay, and same thing here. I put the u and the 9 in red and the x and the 8 in black because they go together. So over here, 8u, we need to remember that this is an understood 1. Don't forget that. That might mess you up when it comes down to it. So the first thing I need to do is, since we're multiplying, I need to multiply 8 times 3 times 2. So 8 times 3 is 24. 24 times 2 is 48. So I get 48. And now I'm going to bring my u's. So I have u raised to the 1st power times u raised to the 9th power. So we're going to add these. 1 plus 9. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot more variables. There's a lot more numbers, but the same concept is still the same. You're going to add these numbers when it's multiplied. So then I need to bring in my my x, and that's going to be 4 plus 8. So I get that 4 from here and that 8 from here. So now I'm going to go ahead and add these. I'm going to go to black because this will be my answer. So 48, 1 plus 9 is 10, x, 4 plus 8 is 12. So I'm going to go to ALEKS and put this in. 48u raised to the 10th power. Bring that down, and that's going to be x raised to the 12th power. I'm going to check that, and that's correct, so I'm going to continue to number 5. Okay, number 5. U to the 5th raised to the 5th power. So over here we're just multiplying, and you may think, well, parentheses is the same thing as multiplying, right? No, not in this case, because it's being raised to the 5th power. So instead of adding, what we're going to do, we have u 5 raised to the 5th power. So what you do in this circumstance is you have u, and you take this 5, and you multiply it by the 5 that it's being raised to. So you'll end up getting u, and then 5 times 5 is 25. So over here we're adding the exponents. Over here in parentheses, the 5th power being raised to a 5th power, we're going to multiply that. I'm going to go over here. U raised to 25. Check it. All right, we're good to move on to number 6. So we have 4x squared. So it looks similar to this one over here, but over here, we didn't have a number. We just had a variable. Another important thing when you're doing this is you have this squared. You have to distribute that to each part. So we have 4x squared. So when we distribute this, it's going to look like 4 squared times x squared. So the reason that's x squared is because this is an understood 1. So if we take this away, 1 times 2 is still just 2. So you can write it like this if that helps you, or you can just write x squared. So 4 squared gives us 16, and then we're going to leave that as x squared. So we're going to go over here. 16x squared. Okay, so we're going to move on to number 7. I'm going to erase this board. So then we have y cubed times 6. So this one's similar to this one because we just have, let's see, we just have y, which is our variable, and that's going to be raised to the 3rd power. And then this whole thing is going to be raised to the 6th power. So we have y raised to 3 times 6. Sorry, I had too many colors going on. I'm kind of getting lost. So we have y, and then 3 times 6 is 18. So this is going to be raised to the 18th power. Okay, moving on to number 8. You have negative 8 times u raised to the 4th power times w parentheses And all this is going to be raised to the second power. Let me put a circle around that so you don't think it's part of the problem. Okay, so we got a lot going on here, right? But it's the same thing. We're just going to break it up into each piece. So I'm going to do -8. And I'm going to bring this over here. So that's going to be squared. I'm going to put this in parentheses, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. But then I'm going to use my U. And again, I'm going to do 4, let me do it like this. 4 times 2. And then, let me get a fourth color out and make it a little bit more confusing. W, and that's an understood 1 times 2. Okay, and the reason I put that -8 in parentheses is because we know that a negative multiplied by a negative is a positive. And if you leave that out of parentheses and put it in your calculator, it might give you a negative because it only registers at -1 time. But really it's -8 times -8. So that's going to give us a positive 64. And then we have 4 times 2. So we're going to have U. 4 times 2 is 8. And then we have W. 1 times 2. And that's 2. I have 64 U raised to the 8th power times W raised to the 2nd power. Check that. And we'll move to number 9. So we have another one that looks very similar to number 8. We have -2A times B squared. And this whole thing is going to be raised to the 5th power. Okay, so same thing as over here. We want that -2, but we want it in parentheses. We're going to put a 5 there. And then we have let me get a different color. We have A, and that's an understood 1 times 5. And then we have B, and we have 2 times 5. I'm going to put parentheses around these. Okay, so we're going to have to multiply this -2 5 times. I'll be real honest with you, I don't know what that is. So I'm going to get my calculator out, and I should have brought my other one, but I didn't, so I'm just going to use the one on my phone. So I have -2 raised to the 5th power, and that's going to give me a -32. Okay, and I put this in parentheses, but I still got a negative answer. That's not supposed to happen, right? No, that's totally okay if that happens, because this is odd, which means we're going to multiply negative by negative, and that's going to give us a positive. Then we're going to multiply this positive by a negative, and that's going to give us a negative. Then we're going to multiply this negative by a negative and get another positive. And then lastly, we're going to multiply this positive by a negative, and that's going to give us a negative. So that -32 is totally fine, but you should still always put it in parentheses just so you're making sure. So then we have A, 1 times 5 is 5. B, 2 times 5 is 10. So, -32 A raised to the 5th power times B raised to the 10th power. All right, last one, number 10. We have -3 x times 3, or excuse me, raised to the 3rd, y, and then parentheses 4. So again, we're just doing the same thing over and over and over. -3 raised to the 4th power. I'm not going to get fancy and use different colors. I'm just going to do it all in black. And then x, 3 times 4. And y, understood 1 times 4. So now I have -3 to the 4th power. And again, I don't know what that is right off the top of my head, but I do know that it's going to come out positive because we have negative times negative, which is a positive. Positive times negative is a negative, and then negative times negative is a positive. So I'm going to do -3 raised to the 4th power, and that gives me 81. And then I have x, 3 times 4 is 12. Y, 1 times 4 is 4. So 81 x raised to the 12th power times y raised to the 4th power. All right, and that's it. We're all done. Yours may look similar to this, but maybe different numbers, or hey, if you're lucky, you might get the same exact thing, and boom, there's your answer. So I hope you guys are having a great time. I hope you guys are being safe. I hope you guys are staying on top of your schoolwork and doing it. Let's get those grades in and keep it rolling. It's not summer yet. We still have to do our schoolwork. I still have to do my schoolwork. Even though I'm not coming to see you guys every day, I'm still doing it. So keep going. And there's your answers for number 1 through 10.